Okay, just going to show you a simple battery box here. I let the last one go with the car because I was too lazy to take it out, so I had to make a new one. Plus, I need to, last one I had to cut these edges out because I was using bigger batteries, the big truck batteries. But I'll show you basically how I did this. Look, it's nothing more than 2x2 angle iron. And I made it to fit the old, come on camera, made it to fit the old battery hold down, which this was actually 2 pieces of angle iron too. I welded just because I didn't have anything at the time, so just whipped that up real quick and drilled some 1/2-inch holes in it. I use 1/2-inch all thread to hold this. And for the big batteries, make it 13 1/4 wide. The 1/4 inch is just for spacing, and you need about 7 1/4 between. This is a little wider because it's to fit this bar. And then for the center here, I'll use a vice grip to hold place, and I'll stick a couple of 1/2-inch bolts and nuts, because basically all I do is stick a 1/2-inch nut inside there, weld it, then stick my all thread to that. And the same thing over here. Actually on this side, I think I'll just, this time I'm going to weld the all thread directly to it. But you get the gist. 4 pieces cut to, in the center, cut to 13 1/4. The outside pieces, I was trying to burn up some small stock, so I welded them together, and its measurements are 16 1/4 to the outside edges. And you just square it and weld it up. Weld all the corners, weld there the best you can. This ain't still a little warm. And then weld all the bottom pieces too. It doesn't matter if you get perfectly flat because the floors aren't flat. We'll see how it fits. Let me grab a glove since that thing is toasty. Cut the corners off at that angle just because floors aren't perfectly square. They have round bits, and I figured that might help it make it easier to fit in tighter. You want it as close to the firewall or closest to the center console or center of the vehicle so it doesn't get impacted. I'll typically mount with the battery sideways like this. You can see how cutting that corner makes it fit there better. But I'll just typically stick the batteries in sideways. That being, reason being is I'll put the negatives over here, so if anything does contact those terminals of that cable, it's not going to be matter because it's not going to matter because it's grounded. Plus, having the positive close to the driver makes it easier, so if your switch breaks or something, you can quickly rip it off and just hook it directly to the battery terminal. I know some rules are more specific where you have to have a whole covered box. That's not super necessary for modern cars. The thing is, you don't want stuff landing on the terminals and causing an arc. We just stick a big old truck floor mat and strap it down after you mount the batteries in. And you can either, like I've done before, you can weld this thing in and let it go with the car, or blast some holes in it and bolt it down. That's probably what I'm going to do. I'm thinking to make it even better, I might go ahead and drill the holes and see if I can fit a piece of plate underneath and a plate on the bottom and permanently tack weld some nuts to it, so it's a lot easier to line it up and don't have to worry about holding the wrench under the bottom once you get started. You can tighten it up and then just zip the bolts out. The plates will drop below and rip it out of the car when you're done. You're ready to scrap it. But that's basically how I've done battery trays for quite a while now. I've done so many that the 6-foot stack high of this angle iron has now dwindled down to about a couple feet, and that's it. So that's a few cars. I'll show you what's going on with the car. Even though by the time you see this, the car is probably going to be done and everything, since I don't have any internet to post the thing. Gas tank mounts in, bolted up, same way I did the same thing. I put plates underneath there with nuts welded to it. It makes it a lot easier than trying to crawl underneath and hold a wrench and start a nut. Once you get the center bolt started, just need to use a screwdriver to line up the other 2 holes, put the bolts in and tighten it up without ever getting out of the car. These straps are bolted to where the tank mounts, and then I always weld them in and cut them with the torch. Even if I had to, you could just unbolt this whole thing and leave them and let them go with the car and build new ones, but I'll just cut it out every time. It's a lot easier to do this than if you want to reuse this cutting along, if you weld all that, it's a lot of cutting, so this works out pretty good. Found out the quarter panel has been replaced. You can see where it's been sectioned all the way down. We'll see what happens. This whole quarter panel might fall off. Who knows? Got my package tray smashed down. You can see it from in here pretty good too. Creased down like that. And I got the trunk canoed with one piece of all thread going just through the floor. I had to do that when I was cranking it down. I had a porta power going up with the chain going down right behind the tire, connected to the bottom. Used a trucker's cinch or whatever you call it, like come along thing to get it tight, get it nice and tight, and just hydraulic force push the trunk down with my porta power. And I just kept tightening that nut, and then resetting the chain, tighten the nut until I got it down here. Stuck in a simple back window bar. That'll help keep this down. Once the car goes packing in, they'll keep pushing it down. Not too heavy duty. Plus, if a car came up on you, that'd stop it once. I also, when I did this, that moved in a little bit because of the chain and the 2x4 I had on there to protect the quarter. And then all this kind of popped up, so I went ahead and creased this and did it all the way down here. Basically did a crease. Normally crease a car, but to try and fix that, I decided to crease it on both sides. Hammered that down flat. This was about the only area that was touching, so I tack welded it in. I would have liked to weld the whole thing, but it doesn't quite reach. I had to really hammer this to get to it. So I welded it there, beat that down good. Same thing over here. Use flex core because I'm out of the regular welding wire. It seems to work okay, but it's messy. And over here, same thing, creased. So good to go. Got to weld the doors. It opened up a huge gap here. This gap was much smaller, but everything's been pulled in. Pushing that down, just pulled everything in. So that's where I am at this moment, which by the time you see this, the cars will be done and crash. See ya.